Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. My name is James Batchelor and today we are chatting about customer contact centres and why dealers more than ever need to be working with them. Joining me to speak more on this is Arran Duffy, Managing Director of OTT, which is a leader in this sector. Hello, Arran.
Hello, James. Good afternoon to you. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. Lovely to have you. Lovely to have you back on Car Dealer Live. Now, for those of you who didn't see the first show that we did nearly a year ago, can you just explain what OTT does and how it helps dealers?
Yeah, absolutely, James. Yeah, no problem. And no, thank you very much for having me back on. It's a real pleasure to be, obviously talking with you again via Car Dealer Live. So, fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, I mean, as you say, we did feature on Car Dealer magazine last year, just talking about some of the services that we offer to the industry and how important the importance of a contact center was. Now, obviously, again, just wanting to sort of touch base on what we do, who we are, and where we're going with some of our big projects. So for dealers that haven't heard of us, it might be a huge interest to them. So the company was formed about 15 years ago here on the Isle of Wight. Fortunately, for myself, I had the opportunity to take over as managing director of the business 3 years ago. Which obviously was a massive pleasure of mine. Obviously, I like the industry and have spent a good 10 years doing so, working for OTT before obviously the takeover. We offer a various different range of services, James, to UK dealer groups. We are well in with the top 5 dealers in the UK, offering such services as service and MOT, follow-up calls, EVHC, Amber and Red work, inbound support, sales campaigns, and much more, really.
And what is it about the automotive industry that gets you so excited? Because I mean, let's face it, it's one of the industries which customer service is always is under a huge amount of scrutiny, isn't it? And there are car dealers who do it right, and there are plenty of car dealers who do it badly. So is it that dynamic that makes you interested being in the automotive industry?
Yeah. I think I couldn't have put it better myself, really, James, with what you just said. I think I find it very, even though I've done it for a long time, that's what gives me the buzz, that I find it quite challenging. To go to these dealer groups, and the one thing with the motor industry is that people move around a lot. One week a service director will be at one group, and then a couple of weeks later he may have moved on to a different group. So you're always chasing the pack, but I think taking our experience, between myself and the operations manager here, we have 17 years experience in doing this. So I'm quite comfortable to sit around a table with, directors and marketing managers from any dealer group, and to help them, to better their service, increase the footfall in which is an ever demanding market.
I think you made an interesting point there about people moving on and moving around the industry. It's for that very reason that car dealers need to have a good customer service experience and be working with companies such as yourselves, because for a customer, they're not interested in people moving around the industry. They just want to have a good level of customer service, and that's something you can help dealers with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key to the service that we offer here. Car dealer groups can do quite a vast majority of things themselves. I think what they tend to struggle with is obviously that sort of repetitiveness of contacting. Some of these groups are quite large and have a database of thousands and thousands of customers, and to be able to get people to contact those customers day in, day out, also whilst trying to deal with the face-to-face side of it, is quite challenging, James. And I think that's where we step in, and that's a service that we're really proud to offer here.
Now, I understand you're doing a lot of Amber and Red deferred work at the moment, working with dealers on that. Just tell us a little bit more about that and how it's going.
Yeah, so I mean, as I say, I've always been quite keen on following up with our clients on the Amber and deferred work. We've started a huge project recently regarding the Amber and Red work, and it's taken off quite rapidly, actually a lot faster than what we anticipated. Now, what that does, because we have full access to our client's DMS system, we're able to obviously follow up those customers that came in, say, last year or 3 months ago for an EVHC, electronic vehicle health check. And from that health check, the dealer group would have made the customer aware of the works that may have needed to be carried out, such as, brake pads are worn by X amount of percentage, 75% worn or whatnot, and this is the price they're going to be. That is very difficult sometimes for the service advisor to sell on the day. That's where we sort of step in, James. We contact the customer on behalf of the dealership, and we do everything from making the workshop booking to booking the loan car or the collection and delivery, whatever the customer's needs are. Now, we've seen some, values from sort of £5,000 to £15,000 turnover per site per month. And, obviously our cost to the client, I think, is some £400 a month per site. So you can see where the value is there for UK dealers to use OTT to follow this up. And with the years of experience that we've got doing this project, I think it's a famous word of mine, which people laugh at quite a lot. But as I like to say, it's a no-brainer. Return on investment's massive.
I know you've had great success with some of the biggest dealer groups in the country, but of course there will be plenty of smaller independents and one-man bands watching this as well. Do you think, would you be able to explain why it's important for dealers to be considering, outsourcing is the wrong word, but working with a company such as yourselves rather than perhaps just doing it themselves?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously, as I touched base on earlier on in the chat, James, that obviously with the experience that we've got, and particularly myself, I mean, that there's not many dealer groups that I haven't met with yet, or spoken to some sort of managing director or operations manager or service director. But one of the big things for me is looking at it from an in-house point of view. I've seen over the last 17 years that quite frankly doesn't work. At least, okay, there may well be a couple of dealer groups that might watch this and say, oh, well, we've got a good setup, we do that. Quite often we get a lot of emails back to say, well, we already do that in-house. But that's great, but do you do it to the same standard as what we do? Are your conversion rates as high as they possibly could be? Or do you have people that get a set salary that perhaps are okay at making the calls but are not totally obsessed by actually booking the customer in? Are they letting customers off the hook quite easily, where your car's due for a service, Mr. Jones, okay, I'll give you a call back, and then does that agent there and say, okay, give us a call back in your own time? Whereas we would say, well, we're getting quite busy in the diary at the moment, we'll look to get that booked in. And it's all about securing those customers for the dealer group, because if a customer's brought a car from a particular dealer group, that dealer group has the right to chase up on that customer and try and offer them the best after sales service that they possibly can. So yeah, majorly important to outsource and use a centre like ourselves, in my opinion, James.
Some would say that with everything going digital, we've seen over the last 2 years this massive catalyst in digital services. People can buy cars online, they can interact with a dealer online via live chat. Are the days of actual physical customer contact via the telephone, are those days going?
No, I mean, to be totally honest with you, I think there's a vast majority of people out there, including myself, James, that actually quite enjoys somebody calling me via the telephone and wishing me well and wanting me to book the car in with them. I think it's very sort of I guess it's like a relationship to make the customer feel that they've got a relationship with the group, make the customer feel important, which they are. If that customer's spent 18, 19, 20, 30 grand on a car, and some sort of prestige range is higher, you want to make sure that customer feels valued naturally, because there's a lot of competition out there at the moment where you've got some of the smaller independent garages, not dealers, but garages, that are VAT registered, that can get hold of genuine parts, that can carry it out for them anyway at a cheap rate.
Yeah.
So I think if you're a main dealer at the moment, then really you need to get your skates on, and look at, you know, what you can do to increase customer footfall, because it may seem at the moment that you're not losing that many, but when you boil it down, in 5, 6, 7, 8 years time, your database might be shrink by some considerable amount.
Mm. And especially so with after sales. I mean, we spoke about it earlier on, where, you know, there is a tendency for a dealer to show a lot of interest in a customer when they're actually buying something, but 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the line, when that customer perhaps might not seem quite as important as when they were buying a brand new car, that's when they still are incredibly important, and you need to be keeping up those communications with the customer.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't have put it better myself, James. If I was trying to explain that from this end, I mean, I think you're absolutely spot on. Obviously, when the customer's brought the car, that's not the end of the road, you know, because, you know, at the after sales side of the business makes up a huge, you know, large portion of the business, you know, income and profit margins. You know, it's fantastic to focus on car sales, but and this is sometimes what does frustrate me a little bit in the industry, is that there's so much focus on the sales side, and I really feel that there isn't as much focus on the after sales as what there really should be, if I'm honest with you. Not everywhere, but some groups, you know, are guilty of this, and you know, and that's what we're here to do, is to sort of point them in the right direction and say, look, you know, with all of our experience, this is what we've noticed, and this is what we can help you with. And, you know, we offer some really competitive rates here, James. You know, we're not here to sting anyone. And I think that's why we've lasted so long in the industry, is the fact that we're very reasonable, you know, with our fixed costs and other charges that we offer. So I think, you know, again, if you're serious about chasing up customers and you know, keeping those customers coming back to you, I think outsourcing it to a well-accreditable contact center is definitely something that you should look at.
Now, we've spoken a lot about outbound support, but obviously you guys also do inbound support. As we know, customers hate waiting. It's quite often the first impression they get of a business, of a car dealership, is by waiting on the phone, waiting for their call to be picked up. How can you help out dealers in this area?
Yeah, I mean, the inbound support from ourselves has grown quite massively. I mean, we always say here, James, that and we quite often say to our clients that the inbound structure is quite difficult to maintain, to know exactly how many agents you're going to need for a particular contract, because sometimes you can't gauge the amount of calls that you're going to be getting. So it's quite difficult to manage at times, the inbound support. But I'll tell you one thing that it is, though. It's fantastic for our clients, because, you know, to miss calls and, like you say, have customers waiting for 15, 20 minutes a time, or not, you know, in some cases, I don't know yourself, but I have looked at some of the reviews for some of the dealers across the UK, because it helps us with, if it's any of our clients, it helps me pinpoint where we need to help them. And a lot of the reviews, you know, on these review Trustpilot sites are to do with people not answering the phone, you know, great dealer group but can't get through, you know, comments like that. And I think that's what's really knocking some dealer groups at the moment, is the lack of you know, sort of resource that they have. And it is difficult, because we've just been through a pandemic, and, you know, businesses have lost people through no fault of their own, maybe, you know, cost cutting because of, you know, the fact that they've had a bad year, and, you know, hopefully that'll all pick up. But with the same ticket, you still have to be trying to offer the same service, which I know is difficult. But when you've got a company like ourselves that's there, but what we do, James, as well, which is really interesting, is there's a lot of companies out there that will offer you inbound support, and we'll answer the phone for you, but they take a message. So then you enter a vicious circle where you've still got to then find the time to call that customer back. When we take the inbound call, having full access to our client's DMS system, and all of our agents here knowing the knowledge of being able to book the car in directly, we're able to make the booking. Simple as that, without the dealership having to do a single thing. So the dealership don't have to do anything. All they have to do is welcome the customer on the day of the appointment.
Yeah, and importantly, from a customer's point of view, they feel as though they're talking to the dealership, and they're unaware, are they, really?
Well, yeah, absolutely correct. Because, we've got all the latest telephone systems here where obviously we can create a dealer code on the network where when a call comes in, it will come up with that specific dealer group. Not naming any at the moment, but if there was a specific dealer group calling into this business, then obviously that would come up in our phone systems, and we would know exactly where that call's coming from, and we can pinpoint it to the exact direction, whether that be Peterborough, Ipswich, or Southampton, or wherever that customer might be calling in, or wherever that dealer is based. We can answer the phone accordingly, which is really clever.
Finally, Arran, I mean, OTT, as we've spoken about, has been in business for a long time. Great reputation, works with some of the biggest names in the business. How has the last 2 years been for you? I mean, are you seeing some shoots of green recovery here? Are you thinking that the motor trade is actually getting through this now, and there's some good times ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, James, if you'd have asked me that 6 months ago, I might have said to you, well, I don't know. It was looking a little bit bleak in parts. There was parts of the business which were looking strong, and there was parts which we were really having to consider. We were probably having to consider maybe offloading people here at the business 6-7 months ago. At the moment, we've got job advertisements out looking for 15 plus agents, because obviously the industry is getting back on its feet, and companies are looking for that support. And I think it's really, really key that we work together to secure those customers for them, but with the same ticket, building OTT back up again. And boy, are we doing that at the moment. And we're in with some real fantastic clients. We've got really, really good relationships with the people we work with, and we totally respect them, appreciate the business that they provide to us. And we want to be an extension, and quite honestly, we're proud to work with these people and these companies. So I think at the moment the future's looking fantastic for OTT. Clients are looking to always give us more work because they're happy with the results that they're seeing. Yeah, of course, we don't want to get to a point where we're too big, James, and then the service provided takes a hit, and then our clients sort of something they're not used to. So we always have to be very mindful of that. But like any business out there, we're looking to grow and make progress as we move forward.
Fantastic, Arran. Really, really good to have a chat, and nice to hear everything's going well for you. But thanks so much for joining us today.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much for your time again, James, and thanks for the opportunity to come on Car Dealer.
Well, that's it for today's Car Dealer Live. Join us again very soon. Bye-bye.